Shalom is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet Good Torah. We have Rabbi Mordechai Darwish of the Gates of Mordechai, and we're going to have something wild today. You're never going to guess it. We're going to talk about the kindness of Donald Trump. And no one's expecting that one. But I want to talk about something bigger. I want to talk about how important it is for the Jewish people to get together and all of us, be one people again. And that's more important than arguing over politics and all the crazy stuff. You want to make an initial comment? You want me to set it all up, or what do you want to do here?
Set it all up.
Okay, so I'm gonna give my whole political bias, the whole thing. Okay, I grew up here in Maryland. I grew up very liberal. I went to a modern Orthodox day school, but then went to public school, so we were more on the modern side. So I grew up pretty much like a lot of, liberal Jews, very liberal. I voted Democrat all the way through John Kerry. And then I think I started, then I don't know what it was exactly. I lived in Israel, and that somehow that flipped my political views. I think seeing all the, I was there, we were there during the second Intifada, and seeing like how the news was distorting what was happening. Like I was watching all these terrorist attacks, and like these news stories were like really distorting it, like the Arabs would do a terrorist attack on Jews, and it's like, oh, the Jews are hurting the Arabs, the Jews are hurting and I was like, what is going on here? Like, I mean, some of these I was very close to and experienced like firsthand, and then the news stories was just so strange how it was like twisting everything. So I think that started really changing my political views. Um, right, Trump. I mean, I voted for him twice. I was real nervous to vote for him. I saw like Hillary Clinton and the DNC and the John Podesta emails, and I was horrified with the amount of corrupt political corruption and moral corruption in a level like I've never seen before. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give it a shot. I mean, I always thought Trump was a little bit of like I wasn't a huge like fan of The Art of the Deal. I wasn't a huge fan of The Apprentice. I think I only saw like maybe one episode, two episodes. So I wasn't like a huge like Trump guy. And but then he surprised me. Then like I think he when he moved the embassy to Jerusalem, that surprised me. When he declared like the Golan Heights part of Israel, that surprised me. So I didn't agree with everything. Like I one of my main things is after seeing this level of corruption, I wanted to see I wanted to see the quote unquote drain in the swamp, and I really didn't see that from him. That was one of the things I think he was weakest on. Like there's a lot of establishment people he put into the cabinet and positions power. Let me give you your opening shot. What do you want to say here?
I don't know. If we're talking politics, I mean, like I grew up, I guess, with the majority of Americans like not really caring, not really knowing anything, you know what I mean? Except like the personalities they put on TV and that kind of stuff, my team versus your team kind of thing. That's the way we grew up. We grew up obviously in Philadelphia, so it's a democratic place. You know what I mean? So the good guys are the Democrats, the bad guys are the Republicans. That's how we grew up. You know what I mean? And that's it. I never really voted, didn't vote, didn't care. It doesn't affect my life either candidate, you know what I mean, on a day-to-day level. So it's like, oh, who cares? As long as, we're making money and we're enjoying life.
Yeah.
That's all that I really cared about. When I went to Israel, I guess I kind of started, like you said, paying attention to the news and seeing how like they're lying. I kind of knew they were lying because I had family in Israel, and like what was on the news is not really indicative of how they were living. You know what I mean? They're telling us no, no life is ho hum over here. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the news tends to dramatize what's going on, right? And as if that's throughout the country, as opposed to just like a neighborhood in Baltimore saying, "Oh, all of Baltimore is awful. It's a dangerous place," and really, it's a very localized. It could be the northern part or the central part, whatever it is. And that's exactly, how Israel, carries its business. Most of the place is safe, almost every single day. And, certain parts are more dangerous than others. When I came back here, actually, when we were still there, Obama was running for office. And that's when I started like paying attention to politics. After learning Torah and seeing the truth through God's eyes, I started seeing all the lies through people's eyes. And when I saw that, the Reverend Jeremiah Wright
Yeah.
you know, and his, you know, the chickens that come home to roost to comment about, you know, America getting what it deserves, you know, when, you know, being heard and all that stuff, and knowing that Obama was part of that, you know, church and that ideology and all that stuff, and then him holding a press conference like 2 weeks later to address it. Like I saw the lies. I saw that he's lying. He's covering it up. The guy is 100% a liar. So I stopped believing anything he said. And then I saw it wasn't like American first policies. I saw it's appeasement to the Arab states, and obviously the Arab states want Israel off the map. You know what I mean? And so that's it. I just took sides. I took sides. The other side must be right because that guy's a lying, you know, evil person, and by extension, that was Clinton. And
Yeah.
then when Trump runs, it's a businessman versus the lying side that wants to help the Arabs. This is really a toughie for me. You know what I mean? It's I don't care about personality. Who cares about you know, like if you like sports and you love the arrogant people. You love it. It's amazing. It's like if you're not arrogant, how are you going to beat the other guy? If you don't think you're better than the other guy by a lot, you know what I mean? How are you gonna you know try to beat the other guy? And so like the braggadociousness didn't bother me. The offensive comments didn't bother me because I'm not voting in a saint. I'm not voting in a pope, you know, or a rabbi or anything of that sort. I'm voting in someone who get the job done that helps, you know, all humanity, is not against anybody, especially the Jewish people, the Jewish state. And that's it. You know what I mean? It was very simple, cut and dry. And we saw when he was in there, he didn't do anything wrong, you know, and anything he helped Israel, moved the embassy to Jerusalem, obviously something no one has ever done before. And, you know, all this libel of calling him Hitler is just the dumbest people in the world. I can't understand how an intelligent person could look at the actions of one person and call him Hitler, which he was in history, and look at another person and label him that when he's never done anything of the sort. You know what I mean? And you know, and to talk about people's intentions, well, I didn't know we were mind readers in this country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all those people, I think they're just like loony bins. Nobody with common sense would ever you know throw that label around.
Okay. All right. So let me start at Obama first, since you brought it up. So, right. So I was in Israel when Obama was running, and like what I was reading in the Israeli newspapers, right, the whole Jeremiah Wright thing was very disturbing. He had some ties to like Islamic groups. So coming from like the Second Intifada, like the second war against Lebanon and Israel, my perspective had really changed. I wasn't looking at it just from the perspective of America. So I thought on foreign policy, I thought, right, Obama was going to be a nightmare. But the thing that really shocked me is when he won, I wasn't immediately disappointed. I thought, it is historic and it is interesting. And I thought like maybe on domestic policy, I thought maybe, he can do great good for America. I thought maybe he can bring a lot of healing. Like it was historic, he was the first, African American. Okay, just hold on for a second. He was the first African American man who won, but he did something very strange where he like instead of healing the racial division, which I thought we basically were in good shape in America, and he like inflamed it. And now all of a sudden the racial tension was inflamed, and that seems to be like the Democrats' playbook from then on there. So here's the next, and there, and when he recognized the Muslim Brotherhood when they had a coup in Egypt, I was like, wow, this is really dangerous. When he bowed down to the king of Saudi Arabia, I was like, this is very strange. This is very dangerous. When the American sailors were kidnapped or taken hostage by the Iranian like Navy, I was like, wow, this is making America very weak on the world stage. And then I thought it started to get very, very dangerous. So I was like, this is not, this is not a good direction. So
Uh,
here's the thing that really shocked me about Trump. Traditionally, in my lifetime, every time someone became president, there was like 100-day, a period called like the honeymoon period, and the press would be very, very nice to, the new president. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter if it was Republican or Democrat, and it didn't matter if it was like Carter or Reagan or Bush or Clinton, just growing up. And it's like everyone came in and the press would give respect to the president and like this party won or this party won. So I thought it was going to be interesting with Trump, considering that Ivanka, was a Giorist, that she was a convert to Judaism, and that he had like Jewish grandchildren. So I was expecting the media to have that same 100-day honeymoon period and maybe there'll be some nice stories about like, like Jared and Ivanka lighting Hanukkah candles, or who knows what, but then it was strange because I don't know if people remember this. It seems like sometimes, as David Bowie says, like young Americans, they can't, do you remember yesterday? It's like a song, Young Americans, you know, but it's like, I don't know if people remember that the Republicans controlled everything. Like I think it was, what's his name? It was Boehner, and then it was the young guy. I'm blanking on his name right now. Paul Ryan. The Republicans controlled both houses. Both houses of Congress. They controlled the Senate. They controlled the House of Representatives. They controlled the White House. But yet the whole government and the media all turned against Trump. It was the Republicans in Congress that allowed this immediate craziness of right, that Trump was now a Russian spy, and this was all coming from the Hillary Clinton campaign. And there was things with like the Clintons, like the Hillary Clinton, like the Clintons were involved with like selling uranium to Russia, and there was all these ties that they had, and yet they were turning it all around, and then like trying to paint Trump as this Russian spy, and then the CIA, FBI, everyone's spying, like the government's spying on the president, and this is all being allowed by Republican control. And I started becoming like really disillusioned. Like, what is happening here, right? Like, what I've never seen it. I still to this day I don't understand the reaction, and I go back and forth. Like, is Trump really like this anti-establishment threat? Is it all this massive political theater? Like, what's going on here, right? And then one impeachment, two impeachments. Then, I mean, the last election, I know if you vote for the Democrats, you think that was like the greatest election in the history of mankind. That was the most corrupt election I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen an election in my lifetime where it wasn't over on election night. And now all of a sudden the election stretched on for days, and Bizrat Hashem, I do not want to see another corrupt election like that. It's ridiculous. Then all of a sudden, then after he's out of office, then all of a sudden it's like raid on Mar-a-Lago, just abuse of power of now the current Biden administration. I mean, just legal case after legal case, just trying to prevent him from running, and now two assassination attempts. And okay, and that's one thing. And then throughout the whole Trump presidency, I had like people I grew up with on Facebook, and some of them, who still, support the Democrats, were like screaming on Facebook every day, he's a Nazi, he's a Nazi. I was like, the guy's daughter converted to Judaism. The guy's very pro-Israel. I see massive anti-Semitism on the far left, with the squad, and now we see it clearly with after October the 7th with Hamas. I know. I also see it from the far right. I think it's coming from both ends. Whatever. Okay. So I'll let you jump in, but all of a sudden everything now is uprooted. I mean, I don't know. It's just so. But here, I'll let you jump in here, and then.
Why even mention the far right? Who cares? Right at this point, like the people who are outwardly doing it are not ashamed of it. Is the left, and yeah, like if a person doesn't see, like you call a person a Nazi, you know what I mean? Does the term have something? Why are you calling them that? Because they committed atrocities? Because they killed people? Because they targeted Jews? Maybe that's the operative thing. It was against the Jews that we remember the 6 million dead. So why are you using that dog whistle, that word, right? And so like words don't have meaning anymore. It's just all propaganda. I mean, like a person who doesn't see this, who doesn't can't distinguish between right and wrong, who's falling for the show, so to speak. I mean, there's a show and there's a show underneath the show and all that stuff. But like you're falling for the show. I mean, like you're falling for words of Obama. Like this guy he calls the place systemic racist, right? He calls America systemic. It's a systemically racist country, right? Yet he's a black guy who got voted in to be the president of this place. Does
Yeah,
that does
no,
that does that
yeah.
does that not just like shut up every person who has a brain? It doesn't. It doesn't shut up every person who has a brain. You know why? Because they're so stupid that they fool themselves into thinking that they're smart. And no, it's not really we got to listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth and not like actually what is on the ground. You
Yeah.
understand? They
Yeah.
fall for lies, right? That's them. The initial American person falls for lies. Then once the truth is discovered and they're smacked with it in the face, then there are those people who are like, oh, we recognize the truth now, right?
Yeah.
And then there's people who call it out in the beginning. Those people are called crazy, nuts, conspiracy theorists, right? Those people are called like antagonists. They're labeled. You know what I mean? But like anybody with 2 cents in his brains would know that America is not a systemically racist place. There's no official policy that says that any government place or any business place can hire or not hire based on race. There's no position where you cannot get into in America that's based on race, meaning like you're a certain race, you cannot get into it because of that. So to use the word systemically racist, you're a moron. You're a moron if you fall for it. You're a moron if you play into it. So what you need to have it. You need to have it play out before the lie is called out. You could see it ahead of time if you were thinking. If you're not thinking, then you fall for it.
No, I agree with you on this. Like, right, I find it really distressing that, like, and I think I do think it's coming from both. I see it on both sides. Like, no matter if it's CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News, I see propaganda coming from both sides. What one of my main things that I wanted to try to do, I don't know if we're going to be accomplish anything, but right, I think there's things that the media is saying that are very false. They're like it's heightened rhetoric, and they're trying to paint both sides as pure evil. And the people voting are not, the people are voting, they're voting for the good that they hear the politicians saying. They're not voting, with bad intent. I don't think most voters are voting with bad intent. The politicians are saying nice things to them. They want to believe it. I think people are getting tricked a little bit. Let me bring up this video because I think it's very different than what most people have heard. But like the whole idea that like that Trump's a Nazi, like no, I'll call it straight. Like I mean, I think the guy is very egotistical. He's like a Balgaiva. The guy,
So,
he's
so,
not as
so
you
what?
said. He's not a Sadiq. I mean, he's
So what?
okay. He's a little
So
loose in
what?
the. Okay, okay, fine.
What does that have to do with your president running your country? What does that have to do with anything?
Okay, all right, let me bring this up. So I think so now a lot of people are going to dismiss it because they're going to say, oh, it's very biased because it's One American News, so it is conservative. But I think like this is a different perspective. I have had heard a lot of these stories over the years that Donald Trump did a lot of nice things for people. And I think if people want to be honest, really, have you heard stories of Joe Biden or Kamala Harris doing really nice charitable things for people? They say things that people want to hear. They say some nice things, but here I'm going to play this. We'll take a look at it. We'll comment on it. Let's get into this.
The mainstream media cuts President Trump very little slack and goes out of their way to cover up his many accomplishments since he's been in office. But it goes back much further than that. For decades, Donald Trump has been quietly helping Americans from all backgrounds without any praise or credit from the media. As it turns out, the businessman turned president has a long history of random acts of kindness. For example, the president is a champion of women's rights, and going all the way back to 1980, Trump hired Barbara Rez to be the head of construction for his organization. She was just one of many women Trump promoted into prominent positions in construction at a time when the industry was dominated by men, with Trump even saying that a good woman is better than 10 good men. As a result, Barbara says she may have been the first woman in U.S. history to build a skyscraper. A few years later, in 1988, a Jewish family were desperate to find help for their critically ill son, who was just 3 years old and needed a flight from Los Angeles to New York for emergency treatment. But all the commercial airlines refused to fly their son because he needed to travel with several large pieces of medical equipment. Running out of hope, the family reached out to Donald Trump, who they said didn't even hesitate and agreed to have his private jet fly the family and their sick son to New York for treatment. The boy's father said, quote, Donald Trump is a miracle, just a miracle. In 1991, witnesses say that while Trump was riding in his limo, he spotted a man being brutally attacked by a mugger with a baseball bat. Trump ordered the limo to pull over and jumped out of the car, shouting at the man to drop the bat, who, according to witnesses, then fled the scene. In 2008, singer and actress Jennifer Hudson's mother, brother, and nephew were all murdered at their home in Chicago. In another unexpected gesture of kindness, Trump reached out to the grief-stricken Hudson and offered to house her and her relatives at Trump Tower in Chicago for free. At the time, People magazine praised Trump for his, quote, heart of gold, with Trump saying he just wanted to help protect her and her family. A few years later, in 2013, bus driver Darnell Barton stopped to help a woman who he thought looked like she was about ready to jump off a bridge. Donald Trump heard about the story and sent Barton a $10,000 check for his good deed, saying, quote, your quick thinking resulted in a life being saved, and for that, you should be rewarded. The next year, in 2014, U.S. Marine Corps Sergeant Andrew Timorisi was arrested in Mexico and held for 7 months after he accidentally brought firearms across the border. Trump followed the case, and when Andrew was finally released and returned to the United States, Trump reached out and sent him a check for $25,000, thanking him for his...
And then it goes on. There's a couple more of these stories.
He's a great guy. He's a wonderful person.
No, I just want to make a point of all this that, like, right, he's when someone's being painted as a Nazi, I think the truth, the truth is, I don't think he's done, there's stories of him doing very kind things for people. And that's generally not like what you're ever going to hear on the news. I mean, there's not like a campaign thing for Trump. I mean, personally, honestly, I'm really getting sick of like both political parties. But right, there is, and I'm gonna try to see if I can bring up this other article real quick here. I'll let you comment on it.
I mean, like honestly, like I said, anybody uses their brains, they can see he's not a misogynist. He's not a racist. He's a businessman. That's it. He just cares about bottom line. The problem is people stopped caring about bottom line, and they started caring about all these other things. Whether he's a nice person, he's not a nice person. Whether he has affairs, or he doesn't have affairs. Like started caring about things that are inconsequential to a job, right? And that it's like caring about the fluff. Like how good does the food taste, and not really caring what's inside the food, right? And we have an obesity problem in this country because our food is disgusting. It's a bunch of chemicals, bunch of all sorts of fillers that have nothing to do with nutrition, but it's packaged and labeled as amazing and so good for you and nice and tasty, and that's all people care about, is it's nice and tasty. But really what's lying underneath is a bunch of harmful substances that are going to kill you. And that's what Obama was, right? He had a glib tongue. He knew how to speak. He knew how to, a nice looking gentleman and that kind of stuff. And he knew what people wanted to hear and how they wanted to hear it. And he gave it to them. He fed it to them, and they ate it up like slop, right? And since they ate it up, they grew fat and they became sick, right? And they grew fat and became sick, and then that's why they wanted to change. They're like, oh, some of them wanted to change. Other people wanted to keep voting for the same nonsense policies. I mean, if anybody, again, you have kind of brain and 2 eyes, just walk into any inner city and see and ask, who's been running this joint? Oh, it's the Democrats. Oh, well, they really care about the place, right? And every place in America is run down. These inner cities are run down, and the Democrats have been in charge for God knows how many years, 30, 40 years, and nothing ever changes, right? But if you're stupid enough to keep voting for these glib-tongued politicians that don't do anything, then you're dumb enough to receive what they're going to give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, for me, like what's even more distressing is just like it's besides the policies and the politicians themselves, it's just that the rhetoric coming out of the media, it's getting like family and friends to start like arguing each other over these politicians. And look, and at the end of the day, the truth is, at the end of the day, if it's Donald Trump, or it's Kamala Harris, whatever they're going to do for the country, it's a big like boost for them. They become this powerful position, right? It's the weirdest thing to me that people want to give all this money to politicians and give and volunteer their time. It's like you're not getting the job. Like you're like, what other job is there in the world where like, oh, this person's trying to get a job, a really good job that's going to pay a lot and give them a lot of power. I'm going to give them a lot of money and I'm going to spend all my time trying to get that person the job. Who else? What other job does that? What other job? I mean, these people, it's like they're taking money from people so they can get a better job. The whole thing's so insane, right? The whole thing's, but it's just like the people arguing with each other, and it's like, and the lies and the rhetoric. It's like I'm just, my main point is I'm trying to prove like that it's not like the media is saying. Like neither one of them is as bad as the other side of the media is saying. I disagree with you on this. Let me bring up this other article that I heard about a long time ago. I think it's another interesting article. And this is supposedly the guy that's the Nazi, right? Now, Fred Trump, Donald Trump's father, I've heard this story for a long time. He helped this synagogue. He helped build this Torah school in New York. So this is in the New York Post. How Donald Trump's developer dad and a Brooklyn rabbi saved the synagogue. Let me see if I can get a little bit of this story here. So when congregants entered Beach Haven Jewish Center in Gravesend, Brooklyn, they passed a small plaque hanging just outside the main sanctuary. Fred Trump, humanitarian, declared the gold embossed, all caps letters. Let this plaque be a token of our sincerest appreciation, never to be forgotten, always to be a shining light to all men of faith. The plaque inscribed December 15th, 1956, is the most visible reminder of an unlikely and unknown friendship between the Lutheran real estate developer and father of President Trump and this enclave of Orthodox Jews in Brooklyn. I would say that Beach Haven Jewish Center would not be what it is today if not for Fred Trump. Rabbi Shimmy Silver told the Post, we are grateful for his kindness and forever indebted to him for what he has done for our community. In the 1950s, Brooklyn's Jewish community was exploding as the new arrivals, many of them Holocaust survivors, tried to begin new lives. They presented a dilemma for this presented a dilemma for Rabbi Israel Wagner, whose congregation was starting to outgrow the garage of a building in Fred Trump's Beach Haven development complex, where it had previously been meeting. So in 1955, he set out to meet the landlord. Wagner, a native of Poland, wasn't sure what to expect when he met Fred Trump. They had never spoken, and the rabbi only knew the real estate magnate by his tough reputation. The two hit it off immediately. Trump donated the land on Brooklyn's Avenue Z to Wagner's congregation. A deed of sale from October 1955 shows the land officially transferring from Fred to the new Jewish Center for $10. The elder Trump also financed much of the construction costs as the new house of worship was born a year later. So it's like, right, this is the thing that's really disturbing. This is not a campaign thing for Trump or whatever, but it's just the rhetoric. When people are just running around going like, this man's a Nazi, this man's a Nazi. I mean, both him and his father have done nice things for the Jewish people. I mean, his daughter's a convert to Judaism. Look on the other side, it's very strange too. I mean, you have so we're down our 10-minute warning. So you have Kamala Harris, her stepdaughter's Jewish, even though they're a little wacky with like supporting the Palestinians and all this, like, terrorist attacks and all that. And look, but even like, I think even Hunter Biden's married to a Jewish woman now. It's all bizarre, right? It's all bizarre. Like,
Bizarre or not bizarre, what do you care? Like who's the better person for the job? Like, I don't understand. Like, why is this even a subject matter? It's subject matter for people who have no brains, who can't use their brain. Like, if you can't get it through your head that a businessman is better than a politician to run your country, you deserve whoever you vote for. That's what it is. It's like you picked it. You picked what's behind door number 1 or number 2, and you got what you deserved. You know what I mean? I don't understand like this thing. Oh, let's paint this person as that. Let's paint this person as that. It's like instead of talking of the virtues that you have, you downplay the other person, right? Forget that you're lying, right? You forget that you're lying, right? You lie about that stuff, and you try to portray it as you want the other person to see it, not as it really is, right? So if you're gonna fall for that, you deserve it. You deserve it. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, Shame on me. That's it. It's open and shut case. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. We become a physical, outward society that cares about appearances more than facts, and that's what you get.
All right, so here's my view. I mean, I personally I am so like sick of both parties. I'm sick of all the rhetoric. Like I've heard it all. I've heard it all. I mean, I've heard it all from all of them. What's more important to me is like the Jewish people coming together and all this hatred being generated by just like disagreeing on politicians. This is not going to help us. I mean, what's kept us in this gullus and this exile is sinas kinum, is all the baseless hatred, and it just like people, right? Like literally, you're talking about people falling for all like the propaganda the news is putting forth. And my whole point of this is that, right, the truth is somewhere in between. Like neither one of these people are as bad as the other side is painting them out to be, you know. But hold on,
that's not true.
But in the end, if people are really paying attention, Congress, they always come together from both sides, and they always keep passing the big spending packages, no matter if it's, you know, a Republican or a Democrat in the White House. So like the establishment just keeps going on and on. Nothing's really changing in the American establishment. I don't buy it. Like I don't buy it. I didn't see a lot of draining the swamp. I don't know if he wins again. We'll see if it's different. I don't know. Okay.
Listen, October 7th happened directly because the left's policies. That if you don't see that, you think they're both the same. That one funds Iran and one stops their funding. Then you know what I mean? Like what do you want to say? The rhetoric is the same on both sides. No, these guys funded Iran, who led to the destruction of countless Jews and countless Arabs too, okay? And the other guy starved it. So what do you have to say about that? Oh, they're both evil, both of those sides. No, it's not true. The truth is, one side is better than the other.
Okay, look, I'm politically we're in agreement. I mean, I agree with you. Like, right, Trump had sanctions on Iran. Trump was tough on Iran, so his foreign policy against Iran was much better. I mean, the Biden administration, they took away the sanctions. They released like $100 billion to Iran, and it funded this
massive. So who cares? Who cares that they're married to Jews? Who cares that being married to Jews does nothing? It does nothing. It's you got people killed. That's your job. Your job is not to get people killed, right? Not to put Americans in harm's way. You put Americans in harm's way. You put Jewish people in harm's way. You put Arabs in harm's way. Because your ideologies superseded your brains. Either that or your pocketbooks superseded any kind of good ideologies you may have had, right? You were being fed money from places and taking bribes from places, and you had to make moves that are against any kind of comprehension. So I'm not gonna say, oh, they're both evil on both sides or they're both good on both. No. Some of them are.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm not saying that. I said my political biases. I agree with you. Like politically, I think he would be like Trump would be better than Harris. But that's not my main point. My main point is what's going to protect the Jewish people more is us getting along. No, it's
Trump. Trump will protect them more.
No,
right. The other side is going to put them in harm's way.
Okay,
that's it. Like there's no other.
No, because because ultimately, no matter if it's Trump or Harris, we have the Melech HaOlam. We have Hashem. Hashem is still our king, no matter who's
talk
president.
About anything then. So
and but our true king, Ein Od Milvado. There's nothing else besides Hashem. So I'm saying in the end, what's more important is Jewish people being nice to each other, because Hashem's still our Melech, still our king, still our God, no matter who's in the White House, no matter who's in Congress. But Jewish people getting angry at each other, hating each other, is more destructive than arguing over politics.
Well, those Jewish people don't even recognize that there's a king over us. So those are usually the people arguing over the politics. Like anybody, any Orthodox Jew that votes on the left, obviously is not aligned with the Orthodox Jews' values.
I didn't grow up that religious. You didn't.
The only people arguing are people who don't follow God. That's the only people who really argue. It's an
Look,
open and shut case.
okay, look, I didn't grow up that religious. We went to shul on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. I'm sure you did too. So
That's exactly the point. You
yeah.
don't put God over you. You live your life as you like, right? And you do the holidays that you want, right? Whatever fits your lifestyle, whatever's good for you. If it falls on a weekend, that's good for you. Fine. If it falls on a weekend, you're going on vacation. I don't know. I'll do Rosh Hashanah next week. Okay, that's not putting God over you. Those are the people who are arguing. The people who know that there's a God over them, it's an open and shut case who you should vote for.
All right, so we're not gonna solve it all in this one video. I mean, I really, my view is it's much more important. Jewish people getting along, us recognizing Hashem is our real protector. You know, us learning Torah, doing the mitzvahs, that is what's going to protect us more than anything else in the world. I don't think the arguing over politics is helping us. I don't know if we proved our case, or I proved my case, or you prove your case today.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
it's true. It's true. You're saying arguing over politics is not going to do anything. You know what I mean? You're not going to. You're only going to alienate people. You know what I mean? Or fight each other. That's only that's going to happen. You know what I mean? You're not going to get into some sensible conclusion where you're going to take some kind of action that's going to yield some kind of good result. It's just it's just something. It's just like fighting over who's the best sports team. You know what I mean? That's all arguing over politics is.
All right. Well, we're at the 2-minute warning here anyhow. So I'm going to just say this. Leave us your comments. Who knows? Maybe we'll get some fiery comments, not fiery comments on this. Who knows? But, help us out. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. I'll let you give your final say if you want it.
My final say. My final say is this: like, don't be an idiot. You know what I mean? Use your common sense. Your mom taught you better. Your mom taught you better. You know what I mean? You want to open up the Torah. You want to come and learn Torah, learn what God said. You know what I mean? Then you'll see the nonsense from the lies. But you grow up in a world of lies. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to make that separation. Who's lying to you and who's telling you the truth? And the Torah is called Torah Emet because God looked into the Torah. It's the blueprint for creation, and then He created the world. So the whole world is based on the Torah. So if you sit there and you contemplate it and you learn it, then it's easy to find out who's on your side and who's not on your side. And that's what I would say to everybody. Just
Okay.
keep trucking and learning.
All right. It's almost Rosh Hashanah. Let's make Hashem our Melech. Let's come together. We got a lot against us right now. I think the Jewish people getting along, being kind to each other is going to go a long way. We hope to see you back again soon on Sweet and Good Torah and the Gates of Mordecai.